Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 2 of my playthrough of Ace Attorney, the Contempt of Court. Or Contempt of Court, not the Contempt of Court. So last time, we learned that Marvin Grossberg died, which is fucking crazy. And then we met Jake Marshall again. We met a new detective. His name was Detective Snow. I gave him an Australian accent, even though he's probably just British. But, yeah. And then we are going to meet our client, but first, we're going into the body of Vincenzo Cicatrice, I believe, is what his name is. He's a defense attorney, or at least he used to be a defense attorney, and this is his 20th case where he's defending someone named Mr. Brisbane against this dickwad of a prosecutor named Vex Vulpix. He has the same body type as Godot, so it was pretty crazy to think about. But anyways, let's just go ahead and continue. Court is now in session for the trial of Errol Brisbane. Are the defense and prosecution ready? Ready to prosecute. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. I think I gave him the right voice. I gave this guy a British-type voice. The defense, too, is ready, Your Honor. Ah, Mr. Cicatrice, Marvin Grossberg's prized pupil. Something like that, Your Honor. Well, in any case, it's good to see you in my court room again after so long. Mr. Vulper, what's so funny? Oh, nothing, Your Honor. I'm just wondering why the defense seems so confident. What do you mean? What do you mean? He seems to not see the failure ahead of him. I could see the failure across the room for me, that's for sure. False confidence with a trial he can't possibly win. Mr. Vulper, you will refrain from personal attacks aimed at the defense. It's true you haven't faced Mr. Cicatrice in the past, but he is a highly skilled defense attorney. Please be more responsible and professional from now on. Ha, as if you can topple the great Vex Vulper. Vex Vulper is pretty egotistic about his profession, Vinny. Yes, I noticed. But then again, he has never lost a case in his life with over 6 years of experience. Thank you, sir. That puts my mind to rest. Wait a minute. Did you say 6 years of experience? Yes, he became a prosecutor at 19 years old. Must have been embarrassing to be beaten by a 19-year-old. No, Prosecutor Vulper, your opening statement, if you please. Yeah, I know the drill. At approximately 6:40 p.m. yesterday, the accused pushed the victim, Jack Crane, over a cliff. I see. What led the defendant to such drastic actions? A witness reports a heated dispute between the two men. He was crossing the bridge from Neville. Neville? A small village in the mountains. You can reach it by means of that bridge. I see. What did this witness witness? Unfortunately, the bridge is too far away from the scene for anything to be coherently heard from it, especially where the witness was standing. That is a shame. But how did the victim, this Jack Crane, die? On the way down the cliff, his head made contact with several rocky outcrops. From what we can gather, he died before he reached the bottom. It's somewhat unsettling how he can describe the murder with a smile on his face. I have the autopsy report right here. The court accepts this into the record. I don't know how to do a judge voice, so if you guys could give some advice on that, that would be much appreciated. And that's not all, people. I have here a photograph of the shoe prints found at the scene. If the court would just care to take a look at this photograph. There are notably 2 sets of shoe prints here. A few forensic scientists examined both sets, and definite results were produced. This set of shoe prints belonged to the victim, Jack Crane. They clearly showed the victim was standing near the edge, with his back to the gorge. In this set of shoe prints, can it be? Oh yes, they belong to the defendant, Errol Brisbane. So the position of the victim and the defendant are now definitely made clear. Okay, I got the shoe prints. And it just gets better. I also have here a plan view drawing of Verglass Bridge. This drawing shows the south and north ends of Verglass Bridge, as well as a part of Kneeville. I've taken the liberty of marking the positions of those involved with the crime on the map. How, generous of you! Got the map. Well, I'm gonna take a drink. Before we proceed, I have one more piece of evidence to strengthen that photograph. He's still not finished. The report for yesterday's weather. According to this report, no fresh snow fell since 5:30 p.m. yesterday. And since the crime happened 1 hour and 10 minutes later, this proves that no more snow fell to cover up the footprints. Thus, the evidence, the shoe prints, were preserved. Okay. It's never been my profession to jump to conclusions. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. But all this evidence undoubtedly points out the defendant as the killer. Well, hey, it's my job. Well, this looks promising. Don't worry, Vinny. Vulper has a reputation for starting strong. And finishing strong, judging by the fact that he's never lost a case. You still have time to seek out the truth, my boy. Have you encountered this urchin in the past, sir? I believe Diego had a try with him some months ago. He lost, of course. Vulper's win record is perfect. In fact, Vulper's was Diego's first failure in court. Diego. He's been in a coma for almost 2 years now. Don't worry, sir. I know what to do. For the last time, Vinny, please stop calling me sir. The prosecution may call it his first witness. Ah, naturally. I wish to call the detective in charge of the investigation. Detective Robert Snow, take the stand. Oh yeah, I love doing this guy's voice. What the hell? Name and occupation. Angus Makota, cloakroom caretaker. Please excuse Mr. Snow, Your Honor. He has a rather annoying tendency to waste time, shall we say. It is understandable that he has a peculiar habit, but a court of law is serious business. Oh, come on. You just said my name a second ago. Oh, okay, we aren't getting anywhere at this rate. His name is Robert Snow, and he's a detective. He was in charge of investigating the crime scene. Detective, would you mind telling the court about your findings? Okay. We arrived at Verglass Bridge at 7:30 p.m. the same evening. Near the bridge, we found lots of footprints. Analysis shows there were only 2 different sets. We concluded that the footprints facing away from the valley belonged to the victim. The other pair was proved to belong to the defendant, Errol Brisbane. Aside from the footprints, we found something else which pins the defendant as the killer. Thanks to forensics, we were able to prove this. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Snow. There's just one thing I'm puzzled about. What's that? In your testimony, you said that you found something else which pins the defendant as the killer. What is this something else? Oh, I nearly forgot. I was talking about this. Oh, the card. A playing card. It was found on the victim's body. Doesn't make sense, though. There was no full deck of cards on him, just this single card. I'll admit that doesn't seem to make much sense. Why indeed did this victim carry this single card? Actually, I may be able to shed some light on this little golden nugget. This card was the victim's lucky charm. Lucky Charm, you say? Lucky Charms, I love that cereal. This playing card. Indeed, he never lost sight of it. Only he and the defendant knew of it. What, are you waiting for me to tell you why I found it so lucky? I have no idea. I don't practice necromancy, so no, I can't ask the victim himself. The victim had it in his hand when he landed. In any case, the court accepts this card into evidence. Now, Mr. Cicatrice, your cross-examination, if you please. I was wondering when I was to step in. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, we get a cross-examination. Okay. Verglass Bridge at 7:30 p.m. the same evening. How do I look at my court record? Okay. Partially shows Kneeville. She prints photo. 6:40 p.m. Several traumas around the head. No fresh snow fell since 5:30 p.m. on February 10th. Okay. I'm gonna go to the end and get a hint, and then I'll go back and press through everything. Gah, that testimony is flawless. This is most unlike you, Vinny. Every other time you spotted a flaw within seconds. I know, sir, but it all makes perfect sense. It points Brisbane is the killer. Maybe you need to go over the testimony another time, boy. Might I suggest you press for more information for now? I got you, bro. Let's do this. Wait, no, go back, go back, go back. Press. How did you find out about the crime? A man called the department and reported a murder up at the bridge. He claimed to have witnessed the very happening of the crime. But you say that you arrived at the crime scene at 7:30 p.m. The murder took place 50 minutes earlier. Why the large gap? Dear me, Vincenzo, use your noodle for one, will ya? Finkglass Bridge is up in the mountains to the north of the city. The police department is one of the furthest buildings away from those mountains. It would have taken 40 minutes at least to travel by vehicle to the crime scene. Is it all making sense now, Vinny boy? I suppose the distance was on the 40-minute side. The prosecution rests. Now, detective, what did you find when you arrived at the scene? Only two? Yeah, both trails led to the edge of the gorge. One trail ended facing away from the edge, while the other prints were facing the other print. You're complicating things, Snow. Here, let me show you, simply for the benefit of the defense. Here we have a photograph of the edge of the valley, roughly 10 yards to the left of the bridge. These footprints I'm pointing out belong to the victim, Jack Crane. And yes, they have been examined and proved. You can see his footprints stop at the edge of the valley and face away from it towards the defendant. This pair belongs to the defendant, which I have already proved. They show he walked with Mr. Crane to the valley edge, and this was when the heated dispute took place. Mr. Brisbane pushes Mr. Crane over the edge. Splat! Splat indeed! Now then, carry on. Okay. The victim's shoe prints. There's the slightest chance of the wearer's DNA being left on the snow from the shoes. And I mean slight, but in this case, there were none. We had some forensics do a footprint analysis. Footprint analysis? How does it work, especially with shoes? It's a long-winded procedure that involves recognizing the shoe the print came from, looking around places of purchase where the shoe may have come from, who bought the shoe at what time, searching the defendant's home for receipts for the shoes, as well as the shoes themselves. Believe me, this is neither the place nor time to be discussing this. And who did the other pair of shoe prints belong to? Hold it! How can you tell the shoe prints belong to the defendant? He must have more than one pair of shoes, surely. Believe it or not, Vinny boy, it's actually a pretty effective procedure. Take a look at the bottom of the defendant's shoe. Go on, take a look. And compare it with this printout. Suppose I'd better humor him. Aw, fuck. They do match. I rest my case. Your Honor, I request for this to be given in evidence. Well, you have proved its relevance to the case, Mr. Vulper. The court accepts this shoe print into evidence. I think we now have enough information on the condition of the crime scene. I hereby end the cross-examination of Detective Snow— Objection! Apologies, Your Honor, but we can't let this cross-examination end just yet. Apologies, Vinny boy, but Your Honor has already ended the cross-examination. Was there something else the defense wishes to bring up? Yes, Your Honor. There's something vital to this investigation that we haven't heard yet. Oh? Well, we've heard from the detective the state of the crime scene. What else, pray tell, is there left to cross-examine, Mr. Cicatrice? I haven't heard all the details of the crime scene, I'm sure of that. What else is there? What important detail has been missed? The defense wishes to have Detective Snow testify about. I would say probably the defendant's arrest, because the surroundings we already know that's the mountain. The victim's body we already know about his shoes and like how he was kind of fucked up. So defendant's arrest. The defendant's arrest. I personally don't think we should be focusing on the defendant's arrest right now. Okay, never mind. If you say so, I revise my answer, Your Honor. Very well, Mr. Cicatrice, but even my patience has its limits. Okay, then I would say probably the victim's body. Because the surroundings, we already know it's the mountain. The victim's body. The victim's body? Doesn't it sound strange that Detective Snow told of everything found at the scene, but the victim's body? Ah, why, the defense has a point! Detective Snow, why have you not mentioned the victim's body in your testimony? Hey, I'm new at this. I just forgot, okay? No, Detective, it is not okay. Would you care to testify about the condition of the body? Oh no, I wouldn't mind at all. Just keep in mind I have a detective! Yeah, fine. Investigation Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. The victim's body was found at the bottom of the gorge. There's a river down there, but the victim landed on a small bank. He was bruised all over, especially his head, which was cracked open at the back. There were no other signs of bodily harm on him. We thought it best to search the body. We found nothing. So it's safe to say that he fell backwards, after being pushed. A small bank, you say? I'm surprised a bank was even established at the bottom of a gorge. No, a river bank, Your Honor. Oh, right. So the victim landed on the riverbank on his head. That's not a thought I wish to dwell on. Your cross-examination, please, Mr. Cicatrice. Okay, let's do this. Victim's body was found at the... I want to go back, I want to go through to the end and see what hint I get. There's something in the court record that disagrees with a part of that testimony. Think carefully, then strike! Being cryptic will get us nowhere, sir. Okay, so let's look at the evidence. Nobody knows why. No fresh snow. Map of Verglass Bridge. Chagrin's photo. Several traumas found on the head. There are bruises all over him, though. You know, I'm just gonna press for now. Hold it! How deep is Verglass Gorge? You're talking tens of feet there, mate. 50, maybe 60 feet, around that deep. Poor guy wouldn't have had a chance. We reckon he died before he literally hit rock bottom. You guys get it? Am I funny? What do you mean by he hit rock bottom? Here's the thing. There's a river down there, but the victim lay on a small bank. Just how large is this bank? Not that big. It's a bunch of rocks as far as I'm concerned. There's especially his head, which is cracked open at the back. Okay. So he landed on his head. Yeah, but it was only a mild concussion. He should come around any moment now. Oh, that's good to hear. I hope he... Wait a minute, he was killed! Well, you think? Anyhow, as for the bruises on his body, it's obvious he hit a lot of rocky outcrops during his fall. It's possible the victim was beaten before being pushed. But impossible. Impossible how, detective? A witness saw the crime happen. I'm willing to bet it's the guy who called the department. He said... all in good time, people. All in good time. Excluding the bruises and the cracked skull, how could you tell? Oh, we have a device that detects the time a bruise was made. Really? Of course not. The witness didn't report a fight between the two guys. We'll get to the witnesses soon enough. Are you sure the victim wasn't carrying anything? Not a sausage, mate. Just his clothes. Why does this not sound quite right? Something in the court. Oh wait, no, I already know. Okay, so it's gonna be the card. This is the victim's lucky card, right? Yep. Objection! Detective Snow, are you sure you found nothing when the body was examined? Yeah, I'm sure. You're certain there was nothing on the body? What is this, 20 questions? The victim was carrying nothing with him. Have you forgotten about this? That's the, fuck. You testified earlier, detective. Oh, I nearly forgot. I was talking about this. It was found on the victim's body. Oh yeah, I did say that. But The card wasn't found on the victim's body, per se. Per se? Yeah, per se. It was actually found on the bank, 10 feet away from the body. So the victim was holding on to this card before he fell? I got a drink. The judge voice is killing me. Yeah, I reckon it flew from his hands as he fell. Got the playing card updated. And as I said, I have no idea what's so important about this card. I see, so the victim let go of the card as he fell. That would certainly explain how it ended up 10 feet away. Continue with your testimony, detective. Okay, so that really didn't do much. Bears victims' and defendants' fingerprints. There's a river down there, but the victim landed on a small bank. He's bruised all over, especially his head, which was cracked open at the back. No other signs of bodily harm on him. Thought best to search the body. We found nothing. So it's safe to say that he fell backwards after being pushed. We're not out of the woods yet, Vinny. There are still some parts of this testimony we need to explore. Okay, so... I don't think I pressed this button. But you have no evidence he was pushed. Actually, we do. What did you say? This was found near the victim's body. It's a scrap of clothing ripped from the victim's sleeve. The only logical reason I can think of is the defendant grasped the victim's sleeve and pushed. The victim fell and the force caused this cloth to rip away in the defendant's hands. Ah! Wait, that would almost certainly seem the case. Are there any fingerprints on this scrap of cloth, detective? Sorry, Your Honor, there aren't. The defendant must have been wearing gloves. And I don't blame him, it's bloody freezing up that bridge. Please add these pieces of information to your testimony, detective. Proves the defendant pushed the victim. No it doesn't, because this has the victim's and the defendant's fingerprints, so the gloves don't work. So I'm this evidence proves that there's a contradiction. Does it? I don't know, does it? Don't ask me, you're the defense! No it doesn't, my mistake. Sadly, I can't say the same about this penalty. Oh, damn it. Okay. I need to think a little more carefully from now on. I'll go ahead and press this thing. There's something about this cloth that's bugging me. What should I ask the detective? I think I ought to know. That's a good point. Where was the cloth found? Where was the cloth found, detective? It was found at the bottom of the gorge, near the body. Why, you ask? Something sounds strange here. Press further. You're positive this is where you found the cloth? Just get to the point and get your humiliation over with. Very well, my point is this. If the defendant was the one who ripped the cloth from the victim's jacket, why was it found on the bank next to the body? That does make sense. If the defendant really did rip this cloth from the victim's sleeve, what would be the point of dropping it down the gorge with the body? How else do you explain why the cloth is found near the body? Remember what Detective Snow said, that the riverbank was not that big. Consequently, Mr. Brisbane must have been lucky to drop the cloth on a bank that small. What? The defense raises two good points. Why would the defendant drop the cloth he just tore down the gorge? And if this was the case, how did the cloth manage to land so close to the body? Can the defense or prosecution answer this? I have a hunch, Your Honor. Yeah, a hunchback. The victim's sleeve wasn't torn as he fell. It was torn after he fell. It's possible, but what would this prove? That I am not so sure of yet, Your Honor. Is there anything else we should know, Detective? No. No. Oh shit, I accidentally pressed it. I didn't think fabric could leave fingerprints. Jumping to conclusions to pathetically point out a measly contradiction. Look at what it's made of, Vinny boy. Leather. Fingerprints can be left on leather. Yeah, what he said. The victim was wearing a brown leather coat. Any fingerprints would have been left behind. The defendant must have been wearing gloves. What other way is this to suggest this? Wait. The defendant ripped this scrap of leather from the victim's coat as he fell. Does that sound right? No. Objection! Wait just a minute. Leather has a very strong tensile strength. There is no way the defendant could have simply torn it. What? Well, how about that? Vinny boy, I'm disappointed. You didn't think I'd overlook something like this, did you? I did some research into that jacket. It turns out the jacket was tarnished by red rot. Red rot? Red rot is when the fibers are gradually degraded due to exposure to high humidity. My point, Vinny boy, is that the leather of the jacket was weak. Therefore, the defendant did tear the sleeve. Uh-huh. So let me get this straight. The defendant did in fact grip the victim's arm and shoved him backwards, still holding onto the sleeve? Exactamundo. Why, I have no idea, but facts are facts. But how do you know it was the defendant who tore the sleeve if there are no fingerprints? Who else could it have been? Mm-hmm. I see. Continue with your testimony, detective. Okay, I know what to do now. That is incorrect, because the playing card has the fingerprints. Sorry, detective, but what you just said cannot be possible. But how? Huh? You said that the victim must have been wearing gloves. For no fingerprints to be left on this scrap of cloth, yes? Yeah, so? That contradicts the circumstances surrounding this card. The card bears the fingerprints of both the victim and the defendant. So if the defendant was wearing gloves, how in the world did his fingerprints appear on this card? This proves the defendant was most certainly not wearing gloves. Therefore, there is no decisive proof that my client even touched the victim's jacket. You question my brilliance? Order! 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 Thanks to the defense's proof, the reason the victim's sleeve is torn remains a mystery. Is the defense now satisfied with the detective's testimony? I guess I am. Yes, Your Honor. So to summarize what we know so far about this crime, the victim, Jack Crane, fell backwards down Verglass Gorge. It's possible he was pushed. He was holding this card, his lucky charm, which flew from his hand as he fell. After his rather rocky fall, excuse the pun, he landed on the bank near the river. His death is believed to be instant. Is the court now clear on this? As crystal. Indeed, Your Honor. You got it, mate. Very good. Mr. Snow, it appears you are still quite inexperienced at your line of work, as reflected in your testimonies. Oh, thanks, mate. Your Honor was suffice, thank you. I'll see to it that you don't make that mistake again, Snow. Did you just say something, Prosecutor Vulper? No, Your Honor. Well, that clears up police investigation details. Does the prosecution have a witness at hand? Funny you should ask, Your Honor, because there was a witness to the crime. Oh yes, it is about time the witness made themselves known. What the is that Von Karma? Is that like a name and occupation? My name, Titus Crump. Is it just me, or is voice shank in the courthouse? And as my occupation, I'm a millionaire of sorts, and therefore do not require what you people class as a juba. A millionaire, you see. Mr. Crump is a resident of Neville, Your Honor. Ah yes, Neville, the village. He missed the moment of the crime while crossing Verglass Bridge. Indeed, my boy, I saw the whole thing. You see, Vinny boy? What exactly am I supposed to see? I can't win now that I have a decisive witness. He believes in his witness before the testimony's even begun. What a letdown he'll get when the cross-examination begins. Witness, you may give your testimony to the court. Very well. I apologize to the worldly challenged for my extensive vocabulary. Oh. Why did Sir flinch like that when he heard worldly challenged? At approximately 6:20 p.m., I left my humble abode and set off toward the city. Verglass Bridge is the only route for miles to the city, so this I did. Well, I was halfway across the bridge when I heard the sound of bickering on the other side. I looked ahead and noticed I saw two young gentlemen arguing near the edge. I caught some of their conversation. One of them said, "Give it back." That was when I noticed they were squabbling over a small object. The man nearest the edge was then shoved hard in the chest. He staggered back a couple of steps first, and then he fell backwards. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Crump. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Press. Why did you come to the city, Mr. Crump? At Neville, we do not have the means to look after ourselves. What do you mean by that? He means, Vinny boy, that Neville doesn't have any stores. It's merely a small, out-of-the-way residential area with a population of a mere 22. Its residents come to this city to shop via Verglass Bridge. So you see, my boy, I was just out getting my groceries. You see. The only route. Indeed, if not the closest. Are you not aware of the beautiful mansion in which I reside? It is very near said bridge. Are you sure about that? Dear me, Vinny boy, would you care to look at the plan view drawing again? This map shows Verglass Bridge and part of Neville. These squares in Neville represent the closest house to the bridge. The large square at the top, surrounded by a small river, is Mr. Crump's house. You can vouch for this, witness? Oh, most certainly, my boy. That is my beautiful manor. So, Vinny boy, it's glaringly obvious that Mr. Crump lives near the bridge. So Verglass Bridge is the obvious route he would take. Witness, tell the court what happened on your little grocery trip. They were arguing. If you so desire to call it that. I thought it curious, so I froze, almost halfway across when... I looked ahead and there I saw two young gentlemen arguing near the edge. And that would be the defendant and the victim. Absolutely! The man in the defendant's chair was indubitably present. Give it back. Yes, I assumed one had stolen something from the other. All I could make out was, "Give it back!" No doubt I would have given whatever back to him. This sounds suspicious. What should I do? Press further. Did you happen to hear anything else? Now you mention it, yes, I did. Now let's see. The victim then said something along the lines of, "Please give it back. I'm not going to let something like this happen again." And then he fell. And that's what you heard. Absolutely, my boy. My ears no more deceive me than my eyes do. Sorry, Mr. Crump, but you just fell into my trap. I beg your pardon, dear boy. Recall what Vulper said at the beginning of this trial. I see. What did this witness, witness? Unfortunately, the bridge is too far away from the scene for anything to be coherently heard from it. If what you said was correct, Vulper, Mr. Crump shouldn't have heard the conversation that clearly. Oh. He heard more? I had no idea. Order! I will have order. Prosecutor Vulper, did you know about this? My apologies, Your Honor. Why keep such valuable information from the court? Titus, you old fool. I just didn't think it was relevant, what they were arguing about, I mean. I'm sorry, Prosecutor Vulper. I find it very hard to believe you. I'm afraid you must now be penalized for purposely holding back vital information. Penalized? Me? This can't be. No! I can't scream. It's like 1:30 in the morning. Did I say something wrong? Your Honor, no, please. You've made a mistake. I've never lost. I can't lose. I won't lose. I'm Vex Vulper, damn it. Oh, good show, Vinny. You've given Vulper his first penalty. Absolutely smashing. Indeed. Now I think it's time to break the news. Nobody's perfect, Vulper. Not even you. I think it's time you got this thought into your scatterbrained little mind. But I'm perfect! How the hell can a creepy third-rate lawyer like you? Prosecutor Vulper, silence! You're in a court of law. Can we please get back to the witness's testimony? You're not grinning anymore. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Crump. Bobbing over a small object. And this was the card submitted by a detective earlier. I'm not sure. I couldn't see that well from my distance. I could identify it as a flat white object. So yes, this would be the card. Why is he so sure? No, what happened next, witness? But there was no way Brisbane could have done that. Have you seen how bad his nerves are? Oh really? How do you know it's not all just an act? I know real nerves when I see them, Vulper. If you have quite finished, I'm purely stating what I saw. The defendant shoved the victim in the chest, and then he fell backwards. How far back did he stumble? The edge was only a few steps behind him. He stumbled back until his foot found nothing. Then down he fell! Did you see the victim fall? I saw the moment, but not the whole treacherous journey to the bottom. It was too dark. Dark? Yes, the moonlight, I believe, shone in a northwesterly direction, therefore rendering the gorge in total darkness. Something about that testimony seems to contradict something I've heard recently. From Prosecutor Vulper, no doubt. He didn't back up, though. I'm gonna say this one. Mr. Crump, you testified that you saw the victim stumble backwards before falling to his death, correct? That is correct. Unfortunately, that contradicts the evidence. Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. You say that you saw the victim stumble backwards. However, I see no footprints to suggest this. Why, you're right. But I do declare the victim moved strangely, as if he was stumbling backwards. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Crump. Trying to think of what it could be, but not really getting anything. 640. I feel like, I don't know, I'm gonna try the autopsy report real quick. Okay, no, that's not it. Alright, so I'm gonna present the cloth. Objection! Mr. Crump, are you sure you saw the victim being shoved in the chest? Most certainly. If that's true, then there was a contradiction in the way this cloth was torn. The story so far is that this cloth was torn from the victim's sleeve as he fell. But if the defendant pushed the victim in the chest without holding his sleeve, then there was no way the sleeve was torn at this time. There was a possibility the sleeve was still torn. That is very unlikely, especially when you take into consideration the other possibility. Other possibility? What other possibility? There is no other possibility. If the defendant really intended to push the victim to his death, he would have had no need to grab the victim's jacket. A simple push would have sufficed to end the victim. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just being dumb. It's 1:40 in the morning. I'm sleepy. I want to go to bed. But I should have thought about that. Why grab his jacket? There may have been the struggle. It was you, Prosecutor Vulper, who stated there was no struggle. On top of which, the photograph shows no signs of a struggle. You. Wouldn't it make more sense for the purpose of holding the victim's sleeve to be trying to save him? You still haven't presented one single piece of decisive evidence to prove that. The logical reason for Brisbane to grab the victim's sleeve would be to stop him from falling. I just can't prove it yet. Well, it looks like 2 pieces of contradicting evidence were found by the defense so far. First of all, he has proved that the witness did indeed hear the conversation between the defendant and the victim quite clearly. And secondly, this photograph that proves the victim did not stumble back, but rather... Rather what, Your Honor? Rather, he was thrown off the cliff altogether. Oh dear me, Vinny. Boy. 2 possible stories to this, both completely believable. Now I've done it. Is there another explanation for what happened? Huh. I'm gonna say yes, there is. There's another explanation for what really happened. Really, Mr. Cicatrice? Then please enlighten the court and tell us. Is there something in the evidence that explains what really happened to the victim? Hey guys, this is future editing Noah here. So during this part of the trial, I was just completely baffled at what the hell I was supposed to do. But during this part of the trial, I act like I know what I'm doing. Like, I pretend that I figure out the contradiction on my own about the finger marks on the side of the cliff, but I did not figure it out on my own. I had to use a walkthrough. Because I just could not figure out what the hell it was trying to get me to do, and like with the photo of the shoe prints, like the finger marks are literally so unnoticeable. Like I just could not see what it was trying to tell me. So I went to a walkthrough to figure out like how to get past this part of the trial, because you know I want to continue this game. But yeah, I just wanted to say that this part of the trial was just very confusing for me. I could not figure out a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's about it. Out of all of back to stupid Noah. Likely is probably the shoe prints photo. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the photo. Take that. The footprint photograph. There is a certain part of this photo that doesn't ring true. Don't make me laugh, Vinny boy. All that photo shows is the defendant's and victim's footprints. What exactly is there in this photograph that proves Brisbane's innocence? Trying to see, because it zoomed in the photo for me, so I think that that's like finger marks, but I can't get to it because this shit is anywhere. It's not the footprints I'm interested in, Vulper. If you look closely at this section of the photo, there are some finger marks left in the snow. Gah! Order! 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 What do you conclude from this fact, Mr. Cicatrice? In simple, Your Honor. Jack Crane wasn't pushed from the front, he was pulled from behind. Since Hero Brisbane has an airtight alibi for what he was doing at the time, it means somebody else killed Mr. Crane. Somebody else? Vulper seems to really be suffering. I had no idea a simple penalty could be so crippling. Well, I've got a question for you, Vinny boy. If you so claim that this is how the victim was killed, where do you say the killer really was? I hadn't thought of that. This does raise a good point. Well, Mrs. Cicatrice, where do you claim the killer really was? If he was pulled from behind, like that's what they're saying. He has an airtight alibi. I'm honestly not really sure, so I might have to look at the walkthrough because I don't really understand what it's trying to say. Well, if he was pulled from behind and he was facing towards... if he was facing towards... like, he was facing away from the edge. He was pulled from behind. So the killer would have had to have been, like, right behind him. So yeah, I'm gonna say that there. I present to the court the real position of the killer. That's just stupid. Are you telling me that the killer was hanging onto the edge of the cliff the entire time, waiting to commit the murder? I admit it does sound a little far-fetched, like the Pokemon. Is there anywhere for the killer to hide? Yeah. So how exactly are you going to prove that? Oh, when I answer one question, he presents me with another. Indeed. Can you prove the killer had somewhere to hide on the cliff edge? jumping Jehoshaphat's, Fanny. Are you sure you know what you're doing? I hope so. Be careful. Please think of my hemorrhoids. God damn it, not your hemorrhoids. How can I not? No turning back now. Defense requests. Well, I wouldn't say present some evidence. There's no second witness. A sweep at the crime scene would reveal, like, what's down below the cave. Not the cave. Would reveal what's down below the edge. Like, maybe if there's a cave he could have hidden in. So, defense requests an immediate sweep of the crime scene. Namely, the edge of the cliff. What do you think you'll find there? Prosecutor Vulper. Do you recall the shoeprint analysis you and the detective spoke of? Just get to the point. Well, I was thinking, what if the real killer had a ledge to stand on? A rocky outcrop, perhaps? And if there was a ledge for the killer to hide on, he would most certainly leave footprints in the snow. The defense, therefore, would like to request a search for this ledge. What? You can let him do that? Request granted. But a word of warning before we initiate proceedings, Mr. Cicatrice. Yes, Your Honor? If no ledge is found at the crime scene, or if nothing new is found, I believe you accept responsibility for the consequences. Acknowledged, Your Honor. Acknowledged, Your Honor. Very good. Bailiff, organize a party to search the cliff at the crime scene for a snow-covered ledge. I believe this is a good time for a 30-minute recess. Court proceedings will continue in said time. Oh boy, okay. I was quite dumb at a lot of that, but I think I did alright. So on that note, I'm going to end this episode here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and next time we'll continue this trial and we'll continue throughout this case.